Hello. After a few days of hard work in Paris, no visit to France could be complete without a visit to Monte Carlo, the nation's playground, where all the beautiful people come to unwind.
Is that why you have us wearing these sunglasses?
Susan, will you please? This is the Hotel Paris. This is where we're staying. It is one of the most elegant...
We cannot afford this hotel.
Susan, will you stop it, please? It's one of the most elegant hotels in the entire world, where all we beautiful people can feel right at home. Tonight on PM Magazine, we're going to take you on a tour of beautiful Monte Carlo, from the casinos to the wine cellars. Our tour of Monte Carlo. Shall we go?
Henry, I can't see with these sunglasses on.
Susan, please.
It's hard to believe. Monte Carlo was once just a barren plateau strewn with rocks and inhabited by goats.
Ooh, that doesn't sound very fashionable.
But one thing made this place special. According to local legend, it was haunted by a mysterious genie. And perhaps it was his spirit that was captured in the shape of a small spinning ball.
That's the kind of spirit with which I can identify, a genie of fortune.
That's right. In the 1860s, a brilliant entrepreneur opened the Casino de Monte Carlo, and suddenly this clump of rock was transformed into one of the world's most beautiful playgrounds.
A place where the beautiful people of the world could come to play, and in the perfect setting. It's more like a museum than a casino.
This is a European room where traditional continental games are played.
Games with names like Baccarat, 30 et 40, and Punto Banco.
And at stakes that rival the setting in extravagance. By the way, this is the first time the new European casino has ever been seen on television. The management has very tight restrictions on photographing in here to protect the privacy of its fashionable customers.
What kind of clientele do you get here?
An international clientele, obviously very, very wealthy. Very wealthy.
When you're saying very wealthy, I mean, I can't imagine it. What do you mean when you say very wealthy?
Well...
How much?
Right.
We have customers who are capable of winning or losing, and it's quite possible to do both. $2, $3, $4 million per night.
But Monte Carlo is much more than the casinos. If you've got any money left after all that gambling, the streets are lined with fashionable shops,
where we fancy folk can while away the idle hours, satisfying our wildest whims.
Now there's something I'd like to have, just
What?
a little simple barrette.
Oh, that barrette there?
Yeah.
Oh, heck, I'll get you that. How much is it?
Let's see, it's 19,500 francs.
How much is that in dollars?
About $5,000.
Why don't we go to the cafe there and get a cup of coffee? Come on. Come on. At midday, it is the fashionable thing to do. Wander over to the Café de Paris.
and order a French aperitif.
Avez-vous des Gatorade? Gatorade? No. Dr. Pepper?
I don't understand, sir.
No.
Iced tea?
Iced tea, yeah.
Iced tea?
With a
During much of the season, it's people watching that engages the attention of visitors. But this weekend, it will be car watching that's the featured attraction. The Grand Prix de Monte Carlo, driven through the tortuous streets of the city.
Few visitors to Monte Carlo realize that practically this whole city, from the streets to the beaches, is owned by a single corporation. the Société de Bonne Mer.
That means the Society of Sea Bathing, but it controls much more than that, as official Dario dell'Antonia explained.
Back at the years when the first contract was signed, and which is still valid today, they had the responsibility against the monopoly of gambling to make all the entertainment, and at that time they used to even provide electricity power and water power and everything.
Today, SBM is government-controlled. It owns most of the land, controls the casinos, clubs, beaches, and even the hotel in which we stayed.
Oh, what a hotel, the Hotel de Paris. Surely one of the grandest in the world. It's like living in a castle. But I think I was most impressed with a sight most visitors never get to see, the wine cellar, the largest hotel wine cellar in the world.
A fancy hotel like this, you'd think they'd dust occasionally.
Henry, they have bottles here worth thousands of dollars each, some dating back to 1809. And the hotel manager, Monsieur Lobby, had an interesting story about how they were saved from the Germans.
This is an area here where we managed during the last war to hide part of our silver, the part of our very good wines, very good brandies, by piling up in this small part of a corridor a lot of empty bottles. And no one thought, they just thought, well, those are leftovers of empty bottles. They are piled up in this corridor, and there is nothing behind. And during 4 years, there were some very precious things here which we managed to get back at the end of the war.
And what could be more fashionable just before dressing for a night of gambling than a chic stroll along the beautiful beaches of the French Riviera, just like the beautiful people.
Don't you feel a little silly walking in the water dressed like you are?
No, I saw it once in an ad in Esquire magazine. Very chic, very chic. A little wet, too.
Oh, a perfect way to end a perfect day. Now we get to go to the casinos and do some gambling.
Where a few francs and Lady Luck can bring one a fortune.
Henry, where'd you get all that money?
That's what expense advances are for, Susan.
Yeah.
Listen, before we go, this statue in the Hotel Paris lobby, see where it's shiny right there? That's where gamblers have been rubbing the knee for good luck for decades. Very good luck. Susan, please, come on. I need the help.
Henry.
Great, let's go.
As we mentioned earlier, there are really tight restrictions on filming or taping of any kind in the casino.
So I'm afraid you're not going to be able to watch me making my fortune.
Well, while Henry is supposedly making his fortune, we'd like to show you a little bit of the ambiance of Monte Carlo at night.
Come on, let's go, Susan.
Well, here we are back in our hotel after a fashionable night out among the beautiful people. Refreshed, relaxed.
And broke.
Susan.
Well, Henry, how are we going to pay for our hotel?
Susan, you know we couldn't afford this place anyway.
We can't even afford the Holiday Inn right now.
Look, just sit back, read your paper. We look like we fit right in. No one will ever notice us. Susan?
Yeah.
Maybe we could hock the sunglasses.
Henry, you still have your sunglasses on.
Yeah, well, now I'm not trying to look like one of the beautiful people. I'm trying to hide my tiny little red beady eyes from our audience.
Monte Carlo is a beautiful spot to visit, but the only problem with it is there are so many wonderful things to do during the day and the night, so it causes those little old eyes to get a little bit red.
Another reason my eyes are red is because this club, like so many beach clubs here in the French Riviera, is a topless club. And the reason you don't see any swimmers behind us is because this show is on at 7:30 in the evening.
Tomorrow night on PM Magazine, we're going to meet an American who's been living in Paris for the last 8 years. He's a former press secretary to JFK, a former United States senator, and a journalist. We'll be meeting with Pierre Salinger.
In our second story, we're going to go to a very different climate. We're going to go motorcycle racing on ice. In our PM Magazine departments, Donatarian shows us how to raise healthy violets. In our health department, Dr. Gabe Merkin tells us about one hazard of running, And in our Discovery department, J.T. Solomon has some restaurant tips from Gay Paris.
All coming up tomorrow night on PM Magazine.
And now we bid a fond farewell to scenic Monte Carlo.
Good night.
Good night.